Welcome, tennis fans, sports enthusiasts, and everyone tuning in from across the globe to what might just be the most electrifying, logic-defying, and absolutely sensational update we have had in the entire 2026 tennis season. If you're just joining us, you might want to take a seat, take a deep breath, and prepare yourselves because the landscape of women's tennis is shifting right before our very eyes, and it is happening on the pristine, historic grass courts of the Steffi Graf Stadium at the Berlin Open. The headline, the rumor, the question that is burning up the internet, social media, and every single sports forum right now is this. Did Eala just shock ELINA SVITOLINA? Is this Berlin Open quarterfinal the craziest, most unpredictable, and most monumental turning point we have seen all year? Today, we are going completely unscripted in our passion, but entirely analytical in our approach as we break down the sheer madness, the unbelievable drama, and the tactical mastery that is defining Alexander Eala's miraculous run in Germany. This is not just a story about a single tennis match. This is a story about the arrival of a superstar, the shaking of the old guard, and the absolute chaos that grass court tennis can produce right before Wimbledon. To truly understand the magnitude of what is happening with this quarterfinal matchup and the sheer shockwaves vibrating through the tennis world, we have to rewind and set the stage. We are deep into the grass court swing. The 2026 Berlin Ladies Open is a WTA 500 event, but let me tell you, it possesses the atmosphere, the intensity, and the stakes of a grand slam. This is the ultimate testing ground. The grass is slick, the bounces are low, the margins of error are microscopic, and every single player in the draw is desperately trying to fine-tune their arsenal for the sacred lawns of the All-England Club in just a few weeks. Into this high-pressure, incredibly demanding environment steps Alexander Eala, a 21-year-old wild card from the Philippines, a player who has shown flashes of absolute brilliance, a player whose pedigree from the Rafa Nadal Academy is well documented, but a player who is essentially thrown into the deep end of the pool here in Berlin. And what does she do? She doesn't just swim. She creates a tidal wave. Before we even get into the mechanics of the Svitolina showdown, we have to contextualize the absolute shocker that set this whole crazy quarterfinal narrative into motion. In the round of 16, Eala was pitted against none other than the world number 2, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, the absolute grass court titan, Elena Rybakina. Nobody, and I mean almost nobody outside of Eala's immediate team and her most die-hard supporters, gave her a fighting chance. Rybakina is a server of the highest order, a player whose flat, penetrating ground strokes are tailor-made for tearing through grass courts. And for the first 20 minutes of that match, the script played out exactly as the oddsmaker predicted. Rybakina came out firing absolute rockets. She established early control, securing a break lead, moving effortlessly and dictating the baseline exchanges to race out to a commanding 4-1 lead in the opening set. It looked like a routine day at the office for Kazakh star. It looked like the young Filipina was simply overwhelmed by the pace, the pedigree, and the power of the world's second-best player. But this is where the story pivots from a predictable blowout to an absolute sporting fairy tale. Down 4-1, staring into the abyss of a quick straight sets dismissal, Alexander Eala refused to fold. She did not panic. She did not start overhitting or rushing her shots. Instead, she displayed a level of tactical maturity and mental fortitude that you usually only see in multiple-time Grand Slam champions. She adjusted her return positioning. She dug her heels into Berlin grass. She started absorbing Rybakina's immense power and redirecting it, finding angles that simply shouldn't exist on a grass court. From 4-1 down, Eala went on a tear that left the Steffi Graf Stadium in stunned, breathless silence. She won 6 of the next 7 games. She broke Rybakina. She held her serve with back-to-back aces. She leveled the set at 4-all, then 5-all, and then, with the sheer audacity of youth and the execution of a veteran, she broke again and closed out the first set 7-5. The tennis world collectively gasped. And she didn't stop there. Eala rode that wave of momentum into the second set, capitalizing on Rybakina's growing frustration and unforced errors, eventually sealing the match 7-5, 6-4. It was the biggest win of her career. The world number 2, vanquished. Eala was visibly shaking, admitting in her post-match interview that she immediately called her father, screaming in disbelief. It was a monumental, career-defining victory. But in the ruthless world of professional tennis, You do not get to celebrate for long. You do not get to rest on your laurels. Because the reward for pulling off the upset of the tournament was a quarterfinal date with a player who embodies resilience, tactical grit, and relentless consistency, ELINA SVITOLINA. Which brings us to the crux of this incredible narrative and the reason why this Berlin Open quarterfinal has everyone losing their minds. Alex Eala versus ELINA SVITOLINA. The 21-year-old rising phenom, riding the high of a giant-slaying victory against a battle-hardened, incredibly experienced Ukrainian superstar who has seen everything the sport has to offer. The question of whether Eala can shock Svitolina is not just a question of who hits a better forehand or who serves bigger. It is a psychological thriller. It is a clash of generations, a clash of styles, and a clash of immense, overwhelming momentum against unshakable, foundational experience. Svitolina did not reach this quarterfinal by accident. She clinically dismantled Eala in the previous round, showcasing her trademark defensive brilliance, her ability to turn defense into offense in the blink of an eye, and her incredible court coverage. Svitolina knows how to derail momentum. She knows how to take a red-hot opponent, break down their game plan, and force them to play on her terms. So, when we look at the title, when we talk about Eala shocking Svitolina and this quarterfinal going crazy, we are talking about the ultimate irresistible force meeting the movable object. Eala is playing with house money. She is a wild card who has already exceeded every single expectation placed upon her. She recently captured the Birmingham Classic title, proving her proficiency on the grass. But beating Svitolina requires an entirely different type of sustained excellence. It requires suffering. It requires hitting 3, 4, 5 extra balls in every rally, because Svitolina simply refuses to give away cheap points. The drama surrounding this matchup is palpable. Can the young Filipina maintain the aggressive, fearless mindset that took down Rybakina? Can she keep her unforced errors low while constantly pressing the issue against one of the best defenders of our generation? Or will Svitolina's tactical web, her precise counterpunching, and her veteran savvy expose the youth and inexperience of the rising star? This is why the tennis world is captivated. This is why the internet is buzzing. Because whatever happens on that court, it is going to be a spectacle. It is going to be a defining moment for the 2026 season. We are witnessing potential birth of a new grass court queen, or the brilliant, ruthless reaffirmation of an established legend. Now, let us dive incredibly deep into the tactical nuances, the physical demands, and the psychological warfare that defines a specific matchup. When you look at Alexandra Eala's game, especially her evolution over the past 12 months leading up to this incredible run in Berlin, you see the hallmarks of the Rafa Nadal Academy philosophy blended with her own unique, dynamic flair. Eala is a left-hander, which immediately presents a different geometric challenge for any opponent, even a veteran like Svitolina. That lefty serve out wide on the ad court, sliding away on the slippery grass, is a massive weapon. But what has been truly revelatory about Eala's performance in Germany is not just her serve. It is her rally tolerance and her baseline aggression. Against Rybakina, we saw Eala deliberately staying low, bending her knees to scrape up those low, skidding balls that are characteristic of grass courts. She wasn't just slicing the ball back to stay alive. She was driving through her backhand, hitting cleanly, and changing directions beautifully down the line to keep Rybakina off balance. Against Svitolina, the tactical blueprint has to change entirely. Rybakina wants to end points in 2 or 3 shots. Svitolina is perfectly happy to stay out there for 20 shots, probing, testing, and waiting for you to crack. For Eala, the danger in this quarterfinal lies in overplaying. When you're facing a human backboard like ELINA SVITOLINA, the temptation is to go for too much, to aim closer to the lines, to hit the ball 10% harder than you need to, just to hit a clean winner. This is exactly what Svitolina wants. She feeds on pace, and she feeds on impatience. If Eala tries to blast Svitolina off the court from the very first ball, she is going to find herself drowning in unforced errors. Therefore, Eala's deep dive strategy must revolve around calculated aggression. She has to construct points meticulously. She needs to use her heavy, topspin forehand to push Svitolina deep behind the baseline. And only when she receives a short, weak reply should she step in and flatten out her shots. Eala's net game, which has improved significantly, will also be absolutely crucial. If she can draw Svitolina out of position and use the drop shot effectively, or approach the net with deep, penetrating slice shots, she can shorten the points and avoid the grueling, leg-burning rallies that favor the Ukrainian. On the other side of the net, ELINA SVITOLINA's deep dive analysis is all about disruption and counterattack. Svitolina is a master at reading the game. She knows that Eala is riding a massive wave of adrenaline and confidence after the Rybakina win. Svitolina's primary goal in this crazy quarterfinal environment will be to take the air out of the ball and take the crowd out of the match. She will achieve this by neutralizing Eala's serve. Svitolina is one of the premier returners in the game, and she will look to get every single return deep into the middle of the court, jamming Eala right at her feet and preventing her from stepping in on the first ball. Furthermore, Svitolina will relentlessly target Eala's movement. Grass courts are notoriously difficult to change direction on. If Svitolina can use her cross-court angles to stretch Eala wide to the forehand and then immediately inject pace down the line to the backhand, she will test Eala's footwork and balance. Svitolina does not need to hit massive winners to win this match. She simply needs to make Eala uncomfortable on every single shot. Svitolina's first serve percentage will also be a key metric. She doesn't have the booming power of Rybakina, but her placement is exquisite. If she can maintain a first serve percentage above 65%, sliding the ball into Eala's body and taking away the lefty's ability to take massive cuts at the return, she will protect her service games and put all the pressure squarely on the young Filipina's shoulders. The psychological aspect of this deep dive cannot be overstated. We are looking at a fascinating dynamic. Eala has already achieved her tournament goal, and then some. She is playing freely. The pressure, theoretically, should be entirely on Svitolina, the established veteran who is expected to beat a 21-year-old wild card. However, the phenomenon of the letdown is a very real thing in professional tennis. We have seen it countless times. A young player pulls off the upset of the decade, plays out of their mind, empties the tank emotionally and physically, and then comes out flat in the very next round. This is the biggest hurdle for Alex Eala. Can she reset? Can she convince her mind and her body that the job is not done? The emotional toll of coming back from 1-4 down against the world number 2 is staggering. Eala admitted she was a little foggy after the match, that the reality of what she had done hadn't fully sunk in. That fog needs to clear instantly against Svitolina. Svitolina is a predator on the tennis court. If she senses that Eala is emotionally drained, she will ruthlessly exploit it. Svitolina's stoicism, her intense focus, and her ability to remain completely emotionally level regardless of the scoreline is her greatest psychological weapon. She will not be intimidated by Eala's momentum. She will simply view the young Filipina as a puzzle to be solved, a tactical equation to be balanced. Furthermore, we have to consider the broader context of what this deep run means. Alex Eala is not just playing for herself. She carries the immense weight and passionate support of an entire nation. The Philippines is a country incredibly starved for global tennis superstars, and Eala has become a beacon of hope and a massive source of pride. Every single match she plays is headline news back home. This kind of national attention can be a double-edged sword. It can provide superhuman motivation, fueling those incredible comebacks like we saw against Rybakina, but it can also create an immense, suffocating pressure to perform. How Eala manages this spotlight, especially as the magnitude of her achievements in Berlin grows, is a critical factor in her ongoing development. Against Svitolina, in a high-stakes quarterfinal, that pressure is magnified tenfold. She is no longer flying under the radar. She is the story of the tournament. The cameras are fixed on her, the expectations have skyrocketed, and she has to block all of that out and simply focus on the yellow fuzzy ball. Svitolina, meanwhile, is playing for her own legacy. She has been a consistent force at the top of the women's game for years, a fixture in the top 10, a relentless competitor. But she knows that the new generation is pushing hard. Players like Eala are arriving with fearless attitudes, massive weapons, and a complete disregard for the established hierarchy. Svitolina's role in this quarterfinal is the gatekeeper. She is a test that every young player must pass to prove they truly belong in the elite echelon of the sport. A win for Svitolina reaffirms her status as a major contender, especially with Wimbledon looming. A loss to a wild card, even one as talented as Eala, raises questions about her ability to hold off the advancing tide of youth. This dynamic adds a layer of absolute desperation and intensity to every single point they play. It is not just about advancing to the semifinals. It is about establishing dominance, making a statement, and staking a claim on the future of the WTA Tour. As we look at the mechanics of grass court tennis, we also have to dive deep into the specific adaptations both women must make. Grass is a living, breathing surface. As the tournament progresses, the area around the baseline gets chewed up, becoming dirt and dust, while the areas closer to net remain slick and green. This means the bounce has become increasingly unpredictable. A ball that hits the baseline might skid incredibly low or pop up unexpectedly. This demands supreme hand-eye coordination, lightning-fast reflexes, and the ability to make split-second adjustments. Eala, with her relatively younger legs and fresh energy, might have a slight advantage in explosive movement. But Svitolina's experience on the surface means she anticipates the bad bounces better than almost anyone else. She doesn't panic when the ball skids. She trusts her hands and her compact swings to guide the ball back into play. Eala's heavy topspin, which is so devastating on clay and hard courts, is somewhat neutralized on grass. The ball doesn't bite and jump as high. It slides. Therefore, Eala has had to flatten out her strokes, hitting through the ball rather than brushing up the back of it. This requires incredibly precise timing. If she is even a fraction of a second late on her swing, the ball will sail long. This is a tightrope she must walk against Svitolina, maintaining aggressive pace without losing the microscopic margins of error that grass demands. And let us not forget the slice backhand. On grass, the slice is not just a defensive tool to buy time. It is a lethal offensive weapon. A well-struck slice backhand will skid mere inches off the grass, forcing the opponent to literally dig the ball out of the turf. Svitolina has a fantastic biting slice that she uses to break rhythm and force her opponents to generate their own pace from a defensive, low-to-the-ground posture. Eala must be prepared to bend her knees on almost every single rally. If she gets lazy with her footwork, if she stands too upright, Svitolina's slice will carve her up. Conversely, Eala's own slice, particularly when drawn out wide to her forehand side, will be tested. Can she utilize a defensive slice to stay in the point without offering up a high, floating ball for Svitolina to put away? These are the granular, deeply tactical battles that will decide this match. It is a game of chess played at 100 miles per hour on a surface that is actively trying to undermine your footing. As we transition toward the conclusion of this incredibly deep dive, we must reflect on what this entire saga at the Berlin Open signifies for the broader landscape of professional tennis. Regardless of the final scoreline between Alex Eala and ELINA SVITOLINA, the sheer fact that we are talking about this matchup with such intensity, that a 21-year-old wildcard has managed to completely hijack the narrative of a massive WTA 500 event, is a testament to the incredible depth and volatility of women's tennis in 2026. The days of a few dominant players cruising through to the semifinals unchallenged are long gone. The talent pool is deeper than the Mariana Trench. Any given player, on any given day, if they find their rhythm and execute their game plan, can beat absolutely anyone in the world. Alex Eala's victory over Elena Rybakina is the ultimate proof of this beautiful, chaotic reality. It is a reminder that pedigree, ranking, and past achievements mean absolutely nothing when the umpire calls play. You have to earn every single point, every single game, and every single set. For Alexandra Eala, this Berlin Open run is a monumental stepping stone. It is the crystallization of years of grueling work, sacrifice, and relentless dedication. To leave the Philippines at a young age, to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy, to grind to the lower-level ITF and WTA 125 tournaments. It all culminates in moments like this. The victory over Rybakina is the kind of win that alters the trajectory of a career. It injects a level of self-belief that cannot be taught or simulated in practice. Eala now knows, unequivocally, that her best tennis is capable of dismantling the very best players in the world on one of the most demanding surfaces in the sport. That knowledge is dangerous. It transforms a promising prospect into a legitimate, terrifying contender. Even if she falls to the veteran brilliance of Svitolina, the lessons learned in this quarterfinal crucible will be invaluable. She will learn about managing her physical output. She will learn about navigating the emotional hangover of a massive upset. and she will learn exactly what is required to beat a relentless counterpuncher on a grand stage. Eala's rise is not just a great story for the Philippines. It is a massive injection of star power and diversity into the global tennis narrative. She is bringing new fans to the sport. She is inspiring a generation of young athletes in Asia, and she is proving that the future of women's tennis is incredibly bright, incredibly fiercely competitive, and completely unpredictable. For ELINA SVITOLINA, this match is a reaffirmation of her enduring class. She is the anchor in the storm. While young players like Eala provide the fireworks and the dramatic upsets, players like Svitolina provide the structural integrity of the tour. Her professionalism, her tactical acumen, and her refusal to ever give up are qualities that demand absolute respect. Svitolina's ability to remain a top-tier threat year after year, navigating the physical toll of the tour and the constant influx of powerful new challengers, is a testament to her athletic brilliance and her mental toughness. If Svitolina manages to weather the storm of Eala's momentum and secure the victory, it will be a masterclass in veteran management. It will be a reminder that raw power and fearless youth are wonderful, but there is simply no substitute for the cold, hard experience of having played 1,000 high-pressure matches. Looking ahead, the implications of this Berlin Open quarterfinal extend far beyond the borders of Germany. We are just weeks away from Wimbledon, the championships, the most prestigious historic tournament in the world. What happens here in Berlin directly shapes the narratives and the seeding for SW19. If Eala continues this shocking run, if she manages to blast past Svitolina and go deep into the weekend, she will arrive in London not just as a participant, but as a heavily feared dark horse. The top seeds will be frantically checking the draw, praying they do not see the young Filipina's name floating anywhere near their section. She has proven that her game translates beautifully to grass, that her lefty serve is a weapon of mass destruction, and that her mental game is solidifying into something truly formidable. Wimbledon is a tournament that traditionally favors big servers and experienced grass court specialists, but every few years, a young player catches fire, rides a wave of momentum, and causes absolute havoc in the draw. Alex Eala, based on everything we have seen in Berlin, has all the ingredients to be that agent of chaos. But before we can look to the manicured lawns of Wimbledon, we must focus completely on the electric atmosphere of the Steffi Graf Stadion. This matchup, Eala versus Svitolina, the fearless wild card versus the seasoned warrior, the explosive shot maker versus the unbreakable wall, is what makes tennis the greatest sport on earth. It is a one-on-one gladiatorial contest where there is nowhere to hide, no teammates to pass the ball to, and no coach to call a timeout. It is pure, unadulterated problem-solving under extreme physical and psychological distress. Did Alex Eala shock Svitolina? Will the quarterfinal go crazy? The answer to that question is unfolding before our eyes, stroke by stroke, rally by rally. What we know for absolute certain is that Alexandra Eala has already shocked the world. She has already proven her undeniable talent. She has already written one of the most compelling stories of the 2026 season. Everything else from here on out is just adding spectacular chapters to an already incredible book. Thank you so incredibly much for joining me on this massive, in-depth exploration of the Berlin Open and the phenomenal rise of Alex Eala. We have broken down the tactics, analyzed the mentality, and explored the profound implications of this incredible run. I want to hear from every single one of you in the comments section below. Do you believe Alex Eala has the firepower and the stamina to take down a legend like ELINA SVITOLINA? Do you think her victory over Elena Rybakina was a performance of the year? And how far do you think this incredible young talent can go at Wimbledon? Let your voices be heard, debate the tactics, and share your passion for this amazing sport. If you enjoyed this deep dive, if you appreciate the comprehensive analysis and the passion for tennis, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update, an analysis, or a breakdown of the greatest moments in the sporting world. We are going to be following Alex Eala's journey, Svitolina's veteran campaign, and the entire road to Wimbledon with relentless coverage. Until next time, keep your eye on the ball, appreciate the greatness unfolding before us, and enjoy the absolute beautiful madness that is professional tennis. Stay safe, stay passionate, and I will see you all in the next video.